Now, as a semi-obsessed buyer of old Volkswagens, there's always been one that I've wanted to own and restore, and that's the Phaeton W12. The Phaeton was a project conceived by the late Ferdinand Piëch, who was the chair of Volkswagen Group at the time, a true titan in the automotive world. If I went through his entire roster of achievements, we would probably be here all day, but to put it simply, the Phaeton was his vision of a perfect luxury car, and that means quite a lot when it's coming from the same individual responsible for the mighty Bugatti Veyron. This wasn't just a rebodied Audi A8 or a larger Passat. In fact, it shared platforms with a newly introduced Continental GT at the time. Even the production process was an event. Ferdinand Piëch commissioned a dedicated facility just for the assembly of the Phaeton. It's known as a transparent factory based in the heart of Dresden and resembles more of an art gallery than your typical industrial car plant. So yes, this truly was the golden era of Volkswagen, which unfortunately has now passed along with Piëch, but I hope even from that brief summary you can see just why I needed to have one. Trouble is, here in the UK, despite great efforts, the Phaeton never really was a sales success. The V6 diesel was the most commonly sold model, and as a result they're quite easy to find, but a W12, that's a whole different story. I genuinely have been searching these for years, so I just stuck at it, and one evening in 2023 on Facebook Marketplace, I finally got a result. A magnificent 2003 W12 in the exact combination I was after, and that would be an early model short wheelbase version with the all-important 4-seater option. It was advertised at £3,500, which on the face of it seemed like a massive bargain. It looked pretty clean for the age and had only 73,000 miles on it, but there was a catch: it was being sold as spares and repairs. Not to mention, the car was located over 3 hours away in a town called Yeovil. So early hours the next morning I set off and I made it there before anyone else, and there it was. One of Volkswagen's greatest creations, tucked away in the corner of a unit, gathering dust. Now, as it was private property, I wasn't going to go full vlog mode around this guy's premises. It would be a bit odd, but I'll be honest, the seller was an absolute gent. We had a great chat about the car, and he explained the reason for it being advertised as spares and repair is simply because of a hot start issue. Essentially, whenever the car had been on and ran for some time, if you turn it off, it won't restart instantly. But other than that, the engine itself actually ran great, as you can hear in these clips. He'd also just got it MOT'd recently and was using the vehicle sparingly, but he explained that he wasn't actually the most recent long-term owner. This made sense because if we look at the MOT history a bit more closely, we can see that this thing didn't have a test for around 7 years and there was no export marker on it, so it just didn't move during that period. Apparently the story was this car belonged to a lawyer, and from what I gathered, he'd passed away and then the car sat abandoned between 2015 and 2022. That's where I presume the seller stepped in and bought it, but despite that, he's barely done 1,000 miles in it since. So yeah, you know what that means. This is essentially an abandoned Phaeton W12 that hasn't really been fully recommissioned, which is absolutely perfect for me because I never thought I'd come across a situation like this. And the story doesn't actually end there, believe it or not. I bought one of those vehicle history checks, and it turns out this car wore the number plate W12 VW back in 2003. Why is that significant, you may ask? Well, that plate belongs to none other than Volkswagen UK. So this was most likely one of the original press cars at the time, and thankfully, because the original service booklet was still in the vehicle, I could get further confirmation. Pre-delivery inspection done at 40 miles by Volkswagen UK's own technical centre in Milton Keynes. Imagine if this is the exact car featured in this retro auto car review. It would be pretty cool. The outside spec and the plate adds up, but the only caveat is the interior wood is a lighter colour, so yeah, maybe there was more than one grey W12 on the fleet. Now thankfully, over the past year, and also because of the support you guys show on the channel, I have now built up a relationship with Volkswagen UK. I went over to Wolfsburg with them last summer and even got to see another legendary W12 bucket list vehicle, the GTI W12 650. So yeah, what I'll do, I'll send over some emails and see what they come back with and let you know in the next episode. Either way, this is a very special car, and for the great sum of £3,500, a deal was done. This piece of history was coming home. Okay, so welcome to present day. Believe it or not, all of those clips I just showed you when I collected this thing were in May 2023. So yes, I've owned and also abandoned it for a further 2 years. I don't really have an explanation for my stint other than the fact that because I've had all these other projects going on, I didn't fancy chucking a W12 into the mix because it requires its own respect and time and attention, which you can't really do when you've got a Passat R36 completely disassembled around your workshop. But yeah, better late than never, as they say. So that's the plan for today. I can finally show you around this thing. But first on the list is to try and get some power into it, because as you saw, it was advertised as spares and repairs because of a starting issue. So I think the best course of action will be to head over to the boot and have a look at the batteries. If you've ever wondered what the key on a Phaeton W12 looks like, yes, it's the same as every other Volkswagen from this era, or you could say Bugatti Veyron, because they have this key as well. Now, you know how I mentioned details in the start of this video? Well, it already begins when you pull the bonnet latch, because look what pops out of the grille. A dedicated handle with an arrow on it to tell you where to pull it. And that reveals your W12, which is a magnificent bit of kit. More on that later once we have it fired up. Let's get this tiny jump pack on it. This won't be able to start it. We just need to get into the boot, which you can't do without power. Yep, it's not registering anything because completely dead. There you go, some click. We have life. Now to open the boot on the Phaeton, if you've got the electric option, I believe there's some without it, you press the lower part of the V and it's supposed to come up, but as you can see, it's not going anywhere. The electrics are working, but I think because it's not been opened much, it's just kind of gotten stuck. So if I press it and pull on it, I can assist it slightly. There we go. The old thing just needed a hand. It is 22 years old. So second fancy detail of the video, one that was more mainstream, I think. A lot of people knew about this on the Phaeton. These crazy boot hinges. They look like they're billet pieces of aluminium. Absolutely insane. You won't find anything like this on an A8. Volkswagen was just on a crazy roll at this time. Everything was just over-engineered. And I believe these were subcontracted to a bike manufacturer in Italy. Now in the boot of a Phaeton, you'll find the battery system. But unlike the Passats that I'm used to, there's actually two. The right side is in charge of starting the vehicle and the left is in charge of every other luxury you see in these complex masterpieces. There's actually a 64-page PDF dedicated just to the onboard power supply of a Phaeton. I'll be honest, I haven't read it all, but it does help confirm the sizes for each engine variant. And as we can see, the starter battery size is quite a bit smaller, with the exception of the V10 TDI that uses the same size for both. So to keep things in line with how Volkswagen designed this thing, I picked up a pair in the closest modern sizes that were available, also in the same brand as the OEM battery, which happens to be Varta. The larger side needs to be AGM, but the smaller one doesn't. So yeah, a nice £240 to begin the innings of W12 ownership. Do have some random goodies in here. Well, I think this is just part of the car. That looks like the 6 CD changer. Don't know why that's in the boot. It also looks pretty damp. Some sort of battery related terminal. Yeah, part numbers are on it, so I'm gonna have to investigate. And some module that looks suspicious. Well, it's not even tight. That was easy enough. Didn't even need a 10mm. Someone put that on with great care and attention. Now these batteries are actually decent, especially this side being bigger than OEM. That's not actually a bad thing, but I'm downgrading back to the close to original spec because I just feel like if the car was coded and set up for that, you might as well stick to it. I can't wait to get this thing on the lift and start disassembling stuff, even if it's good. That's off now. Is this... I knew it wasn't going to be tied down. Is this the right way to do it? It is now. Oh dear. Knee-jerk reaction was I was thinking that's all just rust, but I think we're okay. It looks like, yeah, it's just dirt or maybe some sealant. All looks pretty solid, folks. What do you think? Okay, we have our new Varta starter battery. Well, that rhymes, doesn't it? We will clean that up later on because now we've got a lot more space. We need to clean the rest of the interior up, so nothing to worry about yet. Let's just get it in so we can see if it starts good. There's meant to be like a little locking plate that holds these down, but it's not in there. Another one to look for in the NLA Phaeton parts department. We won't connect that just yet. Let's go on to the convenience battery. Right, so lots of complicated early 2000s Volkswagening going on here. This is fuse panel, which is not tied down. This massive wiring is just chilling basically. Connectors, which I'm guessing are from those various modules that have been taken out. Oh, look at this. What you got here, mate? Riefendruck controller. Well, whatever it is, it's connected. It's just not held down for no obvious reason. Battery looks, well, it's not tied down as well, so. Negative isn't on as well. The wind is making lots of noises today. That's the sort of speed this Phaeton's going to do on the Autobahn when we're done with it. Okay, so that looks like absolute hell in there. But first things first, you see that positive terminal module thing, cylinder, whatever it is. That's actually the same as what was in the boot, because I was thinking this looks battery related. So someone swapped that out. This, what's the date on it though? 17th of March 05, so that isn't even the original one, because this car was made in 03. That one is 2010-08, so that's not original either. So the original one somewhere in the bin, I assume. Then there's that other little module there, which I was just thinking rings a bell, and that's because it's the same as this. So that is 27-08-04, so again that's made after this car as well. June 04, so again that's not original. Battery, as suspected, is basically the same as that one, Yuasa 5000, but no mention of it being AGM, even though it's a decent size. It has to be AGM. This looks like a typical liquid. You can hear it inside. So we have got some liquid on the battery tray on this side, lots of surface rust. As I was undoing these 13 mils, I mean, look at this one. Perfect underneath. Any war turbine sitting here? Again, that looks like dirt to me. And we haven't got anything to worry about there. I think it helps this car's been parked. And the fact that it's a Phaeton, so it's solid. I'm going to revisit this when we do a cleaning extravaganza, let's say. That is coming up. I presume this is where the plate sits and this holds it down, but the plate's nowhere to be seen. Now, from what I've read online, you're meant to connect the convenience side battery first, so let's do that. One of these fuses blows. It is what it is. Phaeton life, hey, you got to learn the hard way. Okay, so we've got both batteries connected now. I've just put this fuse panel back in this place loosely, but we're going to have to figure out how that's secured later on. Suppose first test we can do, does this button work? Yep, it doesn't. It used to when I collected the car, but it no longer does, so you have to press it from there. But it seems to be definitely more enthusiastic now. Now we're going to go for the obligatory cold start next, but first we need to address one very common W12 issue. Of course, that can be a very dignified way to do this, but I've got 10 litres of 99 RON. Just what this thing needs, or maybe not so much. It needs another 80 to fill the tank on this. It has 90 litre tank. It has got enough in there to start, but obviously you want to test that hot start issue. This is so fancy. I can't wait to show you it properly in a second, but first, W12 things. So we've got power, of course, 73,424 miles on this thing. I just love the starter motor noise on all these 12-cylinder cars. It just sounds, well, it has a bit of that Veyron tone to it, doesn't it? Sort of lazy beast turning on. Amazing. But it looks like we've got traction light on the left, seat belt, probably because I'm sat in it, and we have a battery light. Now I did notice that at the time when I collected it, so voltage is there on the right. It's showing around 12. If we head over here, seems to be idling smooth. I can hear some pulley noises, which is to be expected. It's been off for so long. Okay, so let's see if it passes the coin test. I've got a £1 coin here. Yep, it's passed the coin test. Not bad, that. You can see the state of that headlight compared to that one, so we've got to get that restored. I've noticed the suspension's gone up as well. I think that's the standard ride height. It sags a bit when you've left the car off for a while because it is air suspension. Oh, the coin fell over. I'll keep that because I'm going to need it for fixing this thing. But let's go over some of the specs of the engine. I'm going to recruit the help of this very bright blue thing in the background. Because why not? It's right there. Right, I thought I'd pause the warm-up procedure so I can tell you a bit more about what on earth a W12 is, just in case you've been confused for the last however many minutes. Essentially, it's a 12-cylinder engine, but it's not like your typical V12, which is two inline sixes essentially, and it's very long. This has two banks of VR6s, which is a VW style engine. And if you wanted to look at a VR6 more closely, this is my Mark 5 R32. That's pretty much the whole engine there. It's a V6 narrow angle, aka VR6. And the main way you can tell it's on a single cylinder head. Normally with a V6 you got 3 and 3, but yeah, they've managed to fit it all there in a similar sort of space as a 4-cylinder engine, to be fair. So you got one VR6 there and another one there longitudinally, and the idea behind it was it takes up the same amount of space as a V8, so it's quite compact. Pretty much all of it is here, which hopefully should make it easier if I have to pull the engine on this thing. Now this is a naturally aspirated W12, it's one of the earlier ones. The engine code for this one is BAN or BAN, which is pretty cool. Makes 420 horsepower and 550 newton meters, which is a pretty hefty amount considering this came out in 03 and it was developed in the 90s. And before I move that out the way, I want to show you one more similarity between these two cars, and for that I'm gonna have to shut the bonnet. So on R32, it is a special Golf, so there are various unique parts to it, and one of those is this VW emblem. It is different to a regular GTI or regular Mark 5 because it has this little ridge on the outside, so the actual VW emblem is smaller. And that part number is shared directly with the Phaeton. You can see it's the exact same style emblem, which also means it's quite expensive. I had to get one for that car and it was about £70, which is quite a lot. And the funny thing is, that was only on the earlier Phaetons. Later on they changed it and it became larger. Starts back up straight away. You see if the sunroof opens. It might not close afterwards, but give it a go. That is solar powered, by the way, that sunroof. Now it is a bit tricky to prevent myself just going non-stop with the Phaeton trivia, but there's one other one I just got to tell you about. Now I was watching a German podcast not too long ago which featured Oliver Schmidt, who was in charge of Phaeton W12 development, and apparently there was a rumour that they stopped the production of the W12 Phaeton because ZF stopped producing the 5HP24, which is this gearbox, and apparently the last few that rolled off the production line had a refurbished gearbox, so Volkswagen went and bought used ones from whatever they did, maybe even the equivalent to Facebook Marketplace back in 2003, refurbished them and put them in brand new Phaeton W12s and sold them to their customers. Pretty crazy, the information out there. And that swiftly brings me onto the rear of this vehicle, which seems to be completely brand new. Now, I have got one other thing that I've wanted to tell you folks this whole video, but it's one of those facts that may just seem like, oh, you're just saying it, Hamza, because I haven't got any photos. I've got photos of everything else from that period, but unfortunately I don't have a photo of this just yet, but I am digging through the home archives. This isn't the first time I've sat or been in a Phaeton W12. I actually know one very crazy owner of one, and that happens to be my dad. So yes, in 2004, when I was around 9 years old, my dad did actually have a Phaeton W12 4-seat short wheelbase. And that's kind of the reason why I've wanted one since then, because it was crazy even at the time. And for me, it was like, for sentimental value, I just need to find one again. It was nocturnal aubergine with beige interior. But yes, there is quite a bit to the backstory on this car, so I'm glad I finally got one, and maybe we can get him out in it and drive it at some point after I've tidied it up. Does need a bit of a vacuuming and TLC. Alright, point of view angle. The engine's been idling perfectly that whole time. Can't hear any funny noises. And you guys tell me, do you think anyone has sat in that? I don't think they have. Because you will notice something, but this is just creases from maybe the sun or where. All of it should come out. Got these armrests which are mirrored at the front. They all open and close. These are the seat controls. So full adjustment on the back seats. We have heated and ventilated rear seats. So that's like your scroll wheel on your Mark 5 heated seats, but we've got minus settings. So yes, 4-zone climate seats in 2003. Even these are lit up. Look at this, it's got multiple, there's 5 different positions for that red light. Manual. Whoa, there's some cold AC coming out of there. Up, middle, feet. Dark, what does dark mean? Dark doesn't work, maybe it works in the dark. Door panel. Nice wood trim, leather seams unscathed. This chrome trim here could do with a clean. Speaker up there and an ashtray on each door. This one still has a nice click, whereas that one is kind of stuck open. Another thing to fix, minor stuff. Sill trims look good. And look at the back of the seats. This is what I mean. If this was sat in by some immature people, they would have ruined that by now. It's 22 years old, folks. I mean, it's allowed to have some wear. It's just baffling that it has none. The only thing that lets the side down, in addition to the spider webs, is these floor mats, which are not original. So I am going to have to try and source them, and they need to be right-hand drive for the front section. So yeah, if you're watching and you have a set, let me know. The most worn out section on this car is the front seat, and even that isn't saying much, because look, this bolster has the most minor bit of creases, and that'll probably improve with a bit of heat. Maybe need to repaint some of that. But look at the functions. Full electric goes without saying, because we've got electricity in the back and they all work. But we also have massage function. Got the thigh extender as well, works great. Even look at these seat belts, heavy duty stuff. So back in the front, we'll continue the tour. Now these helipad looking items, they're actually the cup holders. If you press them, they click. These thankfully still do. And then there's a little button in there. If you press them, they'll rise back up. Now that one doesn't seem to be rising fully, but I think if we just help it along, like we had to do the boot earlier, goes right back up. Same with that one. We've got the mirror controls here, which should be folding. They work. Even having an infotainment system this advanced in 2003 was a big thing. Let's try and go through it, because I did notice the 6 CD changer was in the boot, but hopefully we've still got functions. So that's AC. Telephone not available. Vehicle. Aha, tire pressure monitor. So this has actual monitoring of each tire. It tells you the exact PSI. Doesn't seem to be working though, because I have checked the pressures. I've put around 35 in each tire, so they're not zero or an exclamation marker. Navigation system not available. Traffic, no traffic reports. Audio TV, let's put classic on. This is what you need to listen to in a Phaeton. Anyway, before I get copyrighted by whoever owns that, I definitely want to get that TV working. I don't know how to access it right now. PC, long-term statistics, non-battery's been reset from start. So we've got 85 miles of range from that 10 litres. That is a big glove box, and there seems to be some dampness, so we're going to have to look into that. As far as I'm aware, this vehicle is completely standard. No one's messed around with the exhaust or done anything silly. But what we'll do, now that the engine's up to temp, we'll give it a few revs. Now, of course, VR6s are known for their very distinctive tone. The R32 is quite loud standard. But this, I don't think it will be. But we'll see now. No rev limiter. bit smoky considering it's been on for 40 minutes, so it's definitely not cold. But we have another issue, which is right on topic. It doesn't want to turn back on. I wanted to get a starter noise from the back. So the issue is definitely there, folks. I'm going to need the Phaeton experts to get on board in the comment section and let me know. Because now, if you try to start it... Okay. All sorts going on. I didn't press anything there. Maybe a starter motor issue, some other voltage problem, I don't know. We're going to get it all scanned and in the workshop in the next video. But I think what we'll do now is we'll just continue show you some bits around the exterior that I haven't got around to. And then yeah, we'll come to some form of conclusion. But yeah, the exterior is known as Cuckoo Grey, which is a strange name. But it's one of the launch ones. Overall, it doesn't look too bad. We have got a few marks there. I think we can get away with just a paint correction and a few minor things. One of the modifications I want to do is the later tinted rear lights, because I'm gonna have to replace the inners because they're all cracked. Common problem. Also, the seal has perished. So if you look here, it's not really rubber anymore. I did notice in here there is some inner lights, so maybe these are the originals, but they seem to be even worse. Got that fancy blue glass on the rear screen and the front screen. As you can see it there. That's factory. No silly chameleon tint around here. On the topic of glass, we have got a problem. It's cracked. Now thankfully, the seller actually gave me a window with this thing. He was going to change it out. So that's on the list of jobs to do. Hopefully it's the correct part number. And also we have that lower door trim. Apparently these rust from the inside out, because we can see rust in there. Common problem. So we need to do that. Other sort of marks around the vehicle. Right, so I think that's where we'll leave the introduction to the latest project on the channel, a Phaeton W12, as I'm sure I've mentioned many times. It's humming in the background nicely. Hopefully it stays that way, but in the next video we're going to do a full service on it, inspect the underside, and maybe just see if there's anything hidden on there that we don't want to sit in there long term, i.e. rust. And make sure you subscribe if you are new, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know if you want to see a pure walk around video, because I've tried to include a lot of the features today, but I think I could probably spend hours on it, including the history with PEC and whatnot. But yeah, take care and I'll see you in the next video. A little post credits clip. Look what I just found. I've got to show you this. These are all fuel receipts from the previous owner, and they're all at Tesco pay at the pump. They're very faded, but you could just about make it out there at the bottom. 15th of December 2015 at 8:47 a.m. and there is literally dozens of them in there. Incredible, this car is. Maybe we'll add them all up in the next video.